Okay, good evening, everyone. We'll see if everything is working here tonight as try to go live here, and oh, we have a lot to talk about tonight. And wow, there's already comments here. I've added a moderator as well to just kind of help with things. That's my neighbor, and he's going to be helping me as well. Everybody hear me okay on the YouTube side, and I'm going to go ahead and start up the Facebook side. So looks like Keith is on here. So looking and sounding good. Okay, good. And I got a lot of things to talk about. So we'll get into kind of the observations, and then we'll talk about what's coming, probably the most important things. So, yes, okay, Alex, looks like we're good with that. But just kind of letting a few people join on the. But I'm doing well, holding up here, but just kind of getting ready for a busy weekend, and then potentially next week. And we're gonna try to be as honest and forthright, but also, as good as fair as we can be as well. It's a delicate balance here, and so yeah, we're going to. Hopefully, if you have any buffering issues too, that you just are able to refresh or something. Again, I'm looking at changing my internet provider to hopefully boost that coming up here soon. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the observations as kind of more people join in here this evening. I'll be checking the comments, and I see there's some really good questions out there already started. Hopefully, you can see my observation map. We're going to kind of zoom in on Whatcom County here. And we've got some southerlies, which has upped our temps from earlier today. And so hopefully you can see that. We got some gusts in the 20s at the airport. That's the red number. And the black number is the temps. And so it's about upper 40s, low 50s here. So we got some southerly wind, and if you've been outside, you probably felt that. I don't know what's up with this Birch Bay Village reporting station in the northerly flow, but everybody else looks to be southerlies basically, and temps everywhere above freezing, including up at the ski area. So 35 degrees there tonight with that wind switch. So that's pretty much all I'm going to say about that for right now. And then let me see. I'm going to keep going through these tabs here tonight. And this is probably going to go more than a half hour. The other night we did a half hour, and then bonus time. It'll probably be longer than that, just because we got a lot to talk about. So hopefully you can see the KBLI chart for the month of December here up next. And we are looking at 0.73 inches of rain plus whatever fell today. Normal, and we're going to keep this number in mind, is 4.3 inches, 4.33. So 4.3 inches is our norm for the month of December. We were over on the month of November, under on the month of October. I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to be over this amount, and it might be by next week. So as we're going to take a look at in just a little bit. Looking up at the ski area, it's 35 degrees. Obviously no snow there at this moment. Might have been a little bit earlier today. It's kind of wanting to say there were 3 inches possibly. And 32 up at Pandome / Artist Point. The snow report says the same thing. Actually, this must have been reported earlier, because it is definitely 35 and 32. Looks like 4 inches of new snow. So, yep, that's what we were kind of just seeing. Not a whole lot up there for the base, and that's going to probably come in large to this potential what we got for precip coming. The fact that there's not a whole lot of snow at 5,000 and below. 5,000 has 8 inches and 3 inches at 4,000, 4,200 at the ski area, Heather Meadows. But what you also see here is there's been not that much in the last few days or even 24 hours, just 4 inches. So that's probably a good thing for us coming up, even though it's not good for the ski area. Although with some rain potentially even at 5,000 feet coming up, that's probably going to be a good lifesaver for us. Not going to look at this stuff yet. I think that's all I want to kind of go over for that. Let me switch over to, and maybe some of your questions will get answered that were put up on the comments earlier as well. And again, if you do have a comment or question, please put that up in either comment section, and we'll get to the comment or questions that came in the earlier post. And please like YouTube or Facebook, please, the live streams. especially on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed and you're watching, please subscribe. We're trying to now hit 1,000 followers and get more watch hours so we can boost that channel. And that's probably what we're going to be using in the field, to be honest. So, but share, watch, like, whatever you have to do, subscribe. I don't know, all the words, it's the same old thing. So, Justin points out on Facebook that the Mount Baker snow report was for December 4th, and that's correct. This is when this was updated, 32 and 29. We just looked at the official temps. They're 35 and 32 at 8 o'clock tonight. So yes, that is from yesterday. And this might be also from the day before. We might have 3 more inches on top of that as well. But either way, the ski area doesn't have a ton of snow up at the ski area, or even at Artist Point / Pandome, 5,000 foot level. It just doesn't feel like there. I mean, there was earlier, but I think a lot of it's melted. We had a warm November. So I'm going to switch over on the screens now. I'm going to quick switch over to the radar. If I can get this to work right. Hopefully you'll see a radar scope up there. And it looks like we do have some precipitation kind of hanging around this evening. Somewhat showery in nature. So you can kind of see that over Skagit and over Whatcom, maybe a little bit down here into the Snohomish and even up in the foothills, so to speak, as we can see it up in Peaceful Valley, Deming, Glacier, down into the Valley of Acme, and then, of course, here, Concrete up into Marble Mount. Looks like we got some precip here. And then, kind of extending all the way out here up into the Vancouver Island and up into the Vancouver area as we zoom in there. So just kind of seeing what some of the precip in our local area tonight. And that's about all I'm going to show with that. Just kind of wanted to let you know. Let's take a dive into kind of the forecast before we get into the flooding potential. I want to take a look at some forecast stuff. So, excuse me, let me switch this over now to my weather bell. And again, I'm hopefully doing this on the fly, and I think I'm getting better, but occasionally I forget to switch my graphics over. So, and I'm sure I'm not supposed to tell you about that. I have mistakes, but that's just who I am. Okay, so we're going to look at the weather bell map, and this is the latest GFS that's come out, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this blue and red map, but basically we see potential precip coming in here, kind of riding up and over this high pressure, which isn't a whole lot of high pressure, but you can see it kind of builds as we go into Monday, and it kind of rides that as it comes into our area. And we're gonna, and basically from BC on into Oregon. But the atmospheric river, so to speak, or whatever you want to call it, I'm not really having time to argue about that tonight or any night. Whatever precip what we're talking about, there's kind of a narrow, you can kind of see the where it's going to end up predominantly, and that's kind of what we're looking for. And we've talked about it on the previous 2 Facebook Lives, where that was, and we're going to see if that's going to continue. But you can, even here, you can just kind of see the blue riding the red, so to speak. And this precip is kind of coming over this ridge, for the best way of saying it, and that's just bringing in a mountain. Well, no, I shouldn't use that word. A bunch of rain. So, and then I'm honestly not going to sit here and look at the long-term forecast. I do kind of want to see it real quick. Are we going to cool off following this? But to be honest, it's too much for me to handle. I want to talk about the potential of what's coming next week only, at least for the first few days. So that's all we're going to look at. Let's take a look at the GFS tonight for precip. And we're just going to show you as we go into Saturday. We got some precip here up in the mountains, it looks like, a big fair amount. So we'll see what's snow up there. We got some precip in the lowlands overnight into Saturday. And then Saturday, I mean, it's a little bit hanging around, but as we go into the day on Saturday, like afternoon into early evening, things seem to mostly dry out. Not going to call it perfectly dry, for sure. Chance of showers, chance of rain, whatever you want to call it. But the parade tomorrow night in Linden, by the way, of which we are going to be in, Whatcom County Weather is going to be in the lighted Christmas parade. And so if you're there, please say a shout out to us. And a few of us will be riding a truck, and we got a few things going. So we will be there, and don't be afraid to say hi. and all of that. So looking forward to that. We're going to be in the parade for the first time and make our grand entrance, I guess. So looking forward to that. As well, getting in the spirit of Christmas time. But anyway, you can see over the next day and a half that there's a bunch of precip up in the mountains between Whatcom, Skagit, and Snohomish counties as we go into Sunday morning. Looks like we get some rain beginning in Oregon on Sunday, and I believe that's going to push up. Yep, it does. Push up to us some. There is some rain shadow activity here in King County on this run. There's somebody's probably going to have a rain shadow. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that. But you can see through Sunday, the bulk of the precip is in the mountains in the north to central Cascades as we go into from now to, I guess, Saturday night. But as we go into Sunday, Oregon starts picking up, and they got a bunch already today down in the Portland area. And then the numbers start picking up. You can see Oregon's getting in on the action here on this run. And then as we go into Monday, you can see things start picking up. That's the first wave, I guess, of the biggest first wave of several. And you can see the Olympics getting hit here along the coast of Oregon and up into the Olympics area, Southwest Washington. The North Cascades beginning to build as well. But see, you still got, as we go into Mondays, there's a rain shadow somewhere coming here. It just feels like it. Then as we head into Tuesday, and you can see these numbers just keep growing. This is what we've been seeing. And again, still rain shadowing here in the lowlands. This run is very interesting to me. But as we go later into Tuesday, now the rain and overnight starts picking up. I'm going to check on something here real quick. I just want to compare the last two runs. Okay. Similar to the 12Z. Okay. But still somewhat, rain shadow down here in Snohomish, maybe a little bit, just because of the orientation. And now as we go into Wednesday, these numbers keep stacking up in the mountains here, but especially down here in the southern end. I notice here that it's kind of on this run, GFS doesn't have a ton in this middle area of the mountains, so to speak. And then, that's about the end of the week. So we're seeing some numbers in the lowlands between 2 and 2.5 and 3 inches, 4.5, 5 inches as you go further southwest. So that is tonight's GFS. 10 inches up in the mountains of precip. We don't know if that's snow or rain yet. Haven't talked about that. But that's tonight's GFS. Let's take a look at the 18Z Euro from earlier today. And some of this rain was what fell today. In fact, I'm going to actually zoom in on the state of Washington. Let's see. Hopefully you can still see that without any issue. I'm sorry if it's cut off just a hair, and I am going to share my whole screen here in a bit. But so let's just put this into motion. Saturday overnight has some rain. We got this building here in the mountains again on the north end, so to speak. Some of that's going to be snow in the higher elevations, no doubt. Then as we go later into Saturday, here comes the afternoon hours. And again, it dries mostly out as we go into the later afternoon hours for Whatcom County. And then as we go into Sunday, you'll see that wave starting in southwest coming up north. And more here in the mountains of both, the Cascades all the way down into Oregon. We got some in the Olympics, over here in the coastal range. Again, somewhat of a rain shadow, closer here, right in this area possibly. Even in some way into Whatcom County, there might be some rain shadowing at times. Now we're going into Monday. You can see the rain really picking up in that first wave. The Euro seems to be wetter than the GFS, at least comparing these two runs. And now we're going to go into Tuesdays. Here comes Tuesdays. And you can again see this down here. It almost feels like this has shifted a hair more south, but I don't want to say that officially yet. I want to see more data. But you can see the numbers growing here as we go into Oregon. See all that? And that was on the 18Z. Now, it doesn't mean we're not getting rain, but you can see as we're going into Thursday, and that's the end of this run, you can see these big rain totals further south, 4.94 inches, 4.79 inches. That's lowlands. And then up in the mountains, you're seeing 12 inches, 10 inches. This is less than a week's time. The purple is getting into 16 inches up in some of these mountains. So that this has flooding possibly written all over it, at least for certain rivers. I am not the expert for rivers to our south so much, and I can guess, and we can look at some forecast maps. But what I'm seeing is, some issues as you're heading more south than I would at this point. And I say this very carefully because we don't know how this is going to end, and we're still a few days away from the main rain. So I'm just carefully saying, because we don't have a lot of snow up in the mountains currently. In November of 2021, we had 4 feet of snow before it turned to rain, and all that snow came. I think it ended up with about 16 inches of snowpack. We lost 30 some inches. Plus, it rained like inordinate amount, like 15 to 20 inches up in the hills, mountains. So we don't have, and the river now. What happens is you get one round and then another round and then another round, and they stack up where the river might be okay right now. Okay, sounds good. I see that, Anthony. But we see that, it stacks up, and that's what happened in the flood of 21. Right now, we don't have that snow up in the mountains. It's going to be a good thing for us in this case. Now, having said that, there is probably going to be some snow up in the mountains before Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, before it kind of gets a little warmer. And we are on the edge. Here's the thing. We're on the edge at Baker for being very close to having an epic snow dump versus some rain that's going to take away whatever snow we get. So, I want to show you something, but I'm going to caution you. I'm not saying we're going to see this much snow at Baker ski area. But I am going to say there is a possibility that a lot of snow could fall at the ski area or just above it. And it is going to be very close. And it's going to ride a fine line, as the ski area often does, to be honest. But if you go over to this, I want to show you this temperature map. And actually, I'm going to pull up the 12Z because we don't have the latest 0Z. It's probably just starting to run. This is the Mount Baker ski area, the Euro, the average for all the members of what they think it's going to be at the ski area over the next 14 days, 16 days. Okay? Look at this. Let me just make sure you guys can see this. Okay, you can see this whole thing. Even though you can't quite see it says the ski area, it is. 34 degrees today was the high. 33, 33, 36, 35, 35, 33. But look at the lows. All basically below freezing for the whole run. At or below. So that means nighttime is at any precip that could potentially fall at night might be snow. And these 33s and 34s and even the 35s, those could be potentially a lot of snow. Now, this Monday, Tuesday time frame is where it warms up, and it could be 37, it could be 36, but you see we are riding a very fine line at the ski area for it's 4,210 feet elevation. Now, I'm not worried about next Friday, Saturday, Sunday yet, okay, because I don't know what precip, that may be just something else that's causing that temperature to go up and not an atmospheric river, or if you want to call it a pineapple express, if it's coming from the land of pineapples, which is not Alaska, by the way. So I've heard. It's riding a fine line here. And so if you go over to the snow map, the total snow map is jaw-dropping at the ski area. I really should be saving this. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to save this and put this in, so I have record of this. But this is the 50-member ensemble, and again, I'm guessing you may not be able to see, but you can. Yeah, I think you can see most of it. The lowest member on this for the next, let's just out through Saturday, so about a week, which the average is 60 inches of snow at the ski area. I'm not saying that's happening. I'm just saying the Euro ensemble has got some wild numbers. The smallest number is 42 inches. Okay, of snow. Yes, snow. Now, this is a 10-to-1 ratio, and that could be, this isn't the final answer, and it's just representative of the possibility of some big numbers. Some of these numbers are 98, 104, 138. And again, it's probably not going to be 10-to-1 ratio, but it's that's very fascinating to me to see. But we are riding a very fine line at the ski area for these atmospheric rivers. And I will say this, over the years, an atmospheric rivers, or whatever you want to call them, has really made the ski area be what it is in its special way, because those things, they can be like 32, 31 and just dumping snow, where it could be rain further south. And we very potentially are on the north cooler side of this atmospheric river. So what this tells me, here's something else. We're probably 40, 45 degrees at the ski area, and I could probably pull up some data for that back when we had the flood of 21. But I just showed you that the Euro is daily temp average isn't, none of it for the next week hits 40. Now, it still could. I'm not saying that, but there's nothing indicating that it's going to be that warm at the ski area, which could potentially mean that it's only going to be rain, below, let's just say 4,500 feet instead of below 8,000 feet. That's another difference. So we're running a fine line on all of that as to whether with the Nooksack flood. So I feel somewhat confident, but you still need to be prepared, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. I'm feeling, at least seeing the numbers that I'm seeing, and it's that the Nooksack isn't in danger of a major flood at this point. Now, if the atmospheric river starts shifting more north, then we're gonna, then we're back to, okay, we need to look at a lot of data. What are the different charts? What are we looking at? What is, the river flood gauges and all of that? What are, saying? But I think, at least in that regard, yes, we do have a flood watch, and I'll show you that in just a minute. But we're looking at these mountain numbers, and we're looking at flood gauge forecasts, and we're looking at how much rain is going to fall up at the ski area versus, or below the ski area, all those things, and this would tell me the freezing, snow and freezing, but I got that they're different, are going to be not crazy high, like 8,000 or 9,000 feet. So there's not snow that's going to melt. Okay. Let me switch over to, hold on here a second here. Let me switch off of this over to, I'm now going to just share my display. Okay. This just makes it a lot easier to do this. And so you're going to end up seeing my whole display. So hopefully you can see the flood map now. That I've shown. Maybe somebody can confirm that, because, well, I can refresh this. By the way, Jen, could you share this link in the channels too that we're live streaming if we haven't, and also the YouTube link if you haven't, in the weather page, Facebook page, comments of the live as well. And again, I'll get to your comments, okay? I promise. But let's look at the latest predictions for the floods. For the river gauges, and their color system is yellow is action. I think hold on. I think it's yellow is action. For some reason, I'm having a hard time reading these charts here myself. Purple is not good. Major. Moderate is that orange. One's moderate's red. Minor might be orange, and action's yellow. Okay. Hopefully you can see the Skagit River. The Skagit River is what I have up currently at concrete. Okay, that's this one right here. As I zoom in again, I think Keith is saying he can see the map. And over here on the right, we have the gauge for Skagit River near concrete. I probably should make my cursor some special things so you can see where I'm talking. But over here is observation, how many feet it is right now. Somewhere about 17 feet. Then the forecast as you go up for the next few days, and then the date is down here at the bottom, December 8th and then December 12th, but we're looking, in that Tuesday, Wednesday time frame. You can see the Skagit River forecast. This can change. They're just going off the best data that they have, is pushing 2 times very close to major flood stage. Now, I don't know what that means for Skagit, because I'm not an expert down there, although I do have people sometimes asking me about forecasts but I'm not an expert on the river and what happens when this, concrete floods, and when does, Mount Vernon, and, is there Burlington, and, all of that. I'm not an expert on that side. Just not my area at this point. Someday, maybe I can learn more, and I keep learning, but I'm mainly, obviously, Whatcom County. But you can see the Skagit is 2 forecasts for major flood. Again, what does that mean? I'm not sure, but if you have been through this before, I'd be prepared, just because of what I'm seeing here. If you want to look downstream at Skagit, we just click downstream, and we've got a double at pushing close to major again. In the moderate, I guess it's right on the edge. That way, I should have said that also for the one upstream. And then and I'm going to come back to the Nooksack, but you see these red boxes? Snohomish River. That means the forecast is into the red. And then Skykomish at Gold Bar is, again, very close to major on the forecast side. And then if you zoom out, maybe Jennifer could also put this link into into the lives. Is there a way I can do this as well? Hold on, can I put this in this chat? I'll figure it out. But anyway, the Facebook chat as well. We need to get these in there, and we'll try to get some of these links up as we go into next week. The yellows, you can see the yellows are action stage. They have the box around it. Currently, the circle is everybody's green as far as I can tell. That's the current. The box is the forecast, if that makes sense. We've got the Skokomish that always floods when you barely add any water into it. You've got the Puyallup River at orange, which is moderate, I believe. These color scheme over here on the right is kind of a pain. And then, the purples are getting close to major flood, or basically major flood, okay? And you can see more reds down here. Here's a purple down at the Cowlitz at Randall. We have got the Skookumchuck. We've got some more ones I can't even pronounce, and I've lived here all my life. Chehalis, that's a famous one, because I believe that goes I-5, and we've had issues, right? Or is that not the ground? Maybe I'm wrong on that one. But there is one on I-5 near Chehalis, if I remember right, that's closed I-5, but I'm maybe not looking in the right place for that one. But anyway, this Chehalis River one is in the red. So again, we're seeing this along the way. Oh, maybe it's this one at Centralia, and it is only up to not even minor. But and then we can keep going down into Portland, Oregon, excuse me. But as you pull this map back, most of this, besides the Grays River near Rosberg, everything is in that flood watch. This is only a couple rivers in orange down in Oregon that I'm seeing so far. But you can kind of see where they think the most rain is going to fall. Now, let's look at Nooksack. That's what everybody wants to know, at least who's in Whatcom County. The first thing I notice right away is there's nothing that's really jumping off that's red, purple, okay, except we have this orange at the Nooksack at Ferndale. So let's click on that one, and that one's going to show up here later in the week. And by the way, it usually works 24 hours downstream from each, well, I shouldn't say 24 hours exactly, but when it floods upstream, then it takes a little while to flood downstream, and then Ferndale's toward the end of that, and you'll see that that's closer to Friday is where they are putting it in minor stage for Ferndale. So, and then upstream, and I know the Everson gauge, the Everson gauge does not have a forecast to it, so it only shows what it's currently at. So we have to look at Cedarville upstream, and so far it is barely to action. They really don't even have it. So, and then there is one at Glacier. Oops, come on. And they do have a forecast on this, but it's not showing. I can't remember where the stage is. But at this point, this is not showing anything crazy at the North Fork near Glacier. It's an important gauge, by the way, that can help a lot. A lot. It is a key gauge that I watch. And then the Everson gauge, which is also critical for Sumas because, and I'll show you this, they now, after the 21 flood, have this camera, hopefully you can see that, at the Emerson Road, and that's going to tell us if there's issues heading towards Sumas. Okay. At this point in time, there is nothing that I see that indicates the Nooksack at this moment is in the bullseye as I've gone over data for snow and temperatures and potential snow and the degrees of the ski area, what temps it's going to be, and then what these gauges are saying, and the amount of rain that seems to be further south of us. At this point, I say this carefully, the Nooksack doesn't seem to have any major flooding written on it. Okay? But you have to be prepared. I'm just going to say you, and I don't know what that looks like for some of you after the 21 flood. But just, it doesn't mean that, you need to be crazy at this point. But keep a wary eye, as I know most of you will be, on this page, on the National Weather Service, on your local authorities, and the city mayors, whatever it is, of Everson and Sumas and Nooksack and all of those places, of course, to now. Now, there has been some talk. Hopefully you can see this. There has been a lot of blog posts, or not blog posts, but blog posts and Facebook shares and all of that. Experts, probably smarter than me, who've talked about the atmospheric river scale. And that this is a category 5. And that it is a category 5. And what does a category 5 mean? I had it up here and where it went by. Hang on. Here it is. It has to do with how much water vapor transport and how strong it's going to be. And, and category 5 is going to be, primarily hazardous, and versus category 1 is beneficial. And so is 2. And then, okay, let me say this. At this point, this is all on the coast. All category 5 is sitting at the coast. That's not inland and it's not in the foothills, but it is showing it. And by the way, if you follow the rain, it's not going to really line up with us, even if it, gets past that. It is going to rain to us. It's going to come to us, and it's going to come to the mountains past it. But I'm just saying this is kind of centered in southern Washington. Okay, now we have an AR3 up here, if you can see that. Okay? But an AR3 and an AR5 are two different things. And this is on the coast. Now, we can go back, and there is a way to hit the foothills. So let's pull up the foothills for the Euro and 7-day forecast. Let's see, make sure I have this correct. I mean, we can do the ensemble mean. We can do the... Yeah, actually, hold on a second. I want to switch something here. Yeah, and even the ensemble mean is actually not showing it to be an AR5 on the Euro. That's kind of interesting. Yeah. Okay, let's pull up the foothills. I'll go with the control. It's foothills, AR2, AR1 up by us. Okay. And let's see what else. Let's go back. Let's do the inland forecast. No, not inland. No, I guess that's the only two we can look at. I was thinking the inland one, but the inland I think is in eastern. So it's the coastal and the foothills. Either way, the bigger numbers look to our south. And I mean, we can switch this over to the American weather model, and it's got an AR4. And then you click on the foothills. Look at this. Interesting. Okay. It's got, 1s and 2s or 3s, and then some 4s the further south you go. And I may not have this up perfectly, but you get the idea. This is the forecast scale, and then we'll have it. This is an observation, which they will find out what happened, I guess, afterwards. And I could pull you up diagrams for the exact location. I can, foothills, and I can hit right in here. Anyway, and we can look at lots of numbers that's going to bore you. This is what I'm seeing without going off. I mean, there's just so much data you could look at, but I can keep going. I think, let's talk one more thing. I'm still sharing my page before I entertain the questions. Let's go up here. We have a coastal flood advisory in effect for 4 a.m. tomorrow through 10 a.m. So I think that's high tide time. And then also Sunday morning from 5 to 11. Mostly, and somebody asked the question, why does it include like Linden? And I'll answer that in just a moment. But this is mainly for the Birch Bay, the area. It's the lowlands of western Whatcom County. And yes, in one sense, it could affect us, but I'll tell you why they have us in the zone, like inland more. But it's mainly the water coastal areas. The reason that the whole zone looks that way, and if I pull this up, hold on, they have these done by different zones now, and they can't basically have a zone for just Birch Bay or a zone for just, half of San Juan Island, if that gets more weather than somewhere else. So it's because the whole lowland is considered one package. That's why it's included. Okay? But it doesn't mean that we're going to have coastal flooding in Deming or Everson or Bellingham. Well, we could in Bellingham, I guess, but more Birch Bay for, on the coastal area. That's what they're talking. And if you click on the advisory, they're talking about 2 feet inundation, up to 2 feet above ground level. So not crazy, and it's an advisory. This isn't a, so there is minor flooding possible. I don't see anything that, and now there was supposed to be a westerly surge overnight here. That could impact some issues potentially, but I'm not seeing it. I don't think, I hope I'm not missing something, that it's going to be a big thing. Okay, as much as we've seen in the past at Birch Bay, if some of you know about that. Okay, we also have a flood watch, and I wanted to talk about the flood watch just a little bit here. I have it up right. Nope, hold on, I do have it up. Here it is. Hopefully you can see that. And again, I haven't forgot your questions, but the flood watch is in effect from late Sunday night through Friday afternoon, and it does include Whatcom County, and includes a whole bunch of other counties in the National Weather Service Seattle's area. And they're talking about excessive runoff, creeks and streams, and low-lying areas. That's where we're going to see issues, I think, potentially. We're going to see some, creek issues, maybe. We could see, again, the Nooksack's going to rise. No question about it. And we might see some low-lying flooding in Ferndale, for example. And some of those roads, at a drop of a few drops, are going to close. And we can list those off. Speaking of, I have Google Maps through the Whatcom County website. The Whatcom County Public Works has a map website. I believe this is, if I remember right, like primary flooding areas, I think. Here, let me look. But some of these roads, I'm trying to remember. But these are the, like here's Emerson. What closes first, I guess, and some of these. And what floods often. So, and again, this isn't an exhaustive map. This is kind of a, here's a few. I think that's what this map is. But then if they started having closures, I think they update this map. Like if a road that's not on here already, that's, kind of red line. It's not that these roads are closed right now. That's not what this map is. It's just showing the prone ones, I guess. I think that's what this is. But either way, and there's got to be some criteria for this. Yeah, it says closed or water. Okay, so they have Gillies, Goshen, Mosquito Lake, Silver Lake, Lindsay. Where's Slater? I mean, like Slater, I guess it's not on here. But anyway, they would keep adding to this map, and this map was read a lot in 21. So there is that. And again, if we start having issues, we'll get that map up. Again, I don't know if Jennifer is off for the night, but I'll try to get this link out there to you, Keith. Let me see. Hang on. Let's see if I can drop this in this chat. Try this. Let me know if that link will work for you guys. And also, let me see if that worked. Let me grab and actually, I'm going to grab the Cedarville gauge here. Let me see if this is the river map that I was trying to send earlier. Oh no, it's too long. Okay, I'll fix that. URL shortener. Hang on. Let me see if I can quick do that. Did that work? Yes. Okay, good. Hold on. Let me see if I can get this flooding one to shorten up here. Hold on. So I can dump that in here. Well, it's taking too long. Come on, shorten up. Well, I'll see if I can dump that in later. I don't know why it's taking so long to do that. Okay, let's see. Let me copy that. Let me see if that opens. You guys are all seeing this live. Yes, it does. So this is a shortened link. Let's see if I can dump that here. And even though that link might look suspicious, it is correct. That is correct. It is a shortened link for, and you just saw me do it live. I just clicked on it again and it's working. So that's the link for, and I'm doing this in YouTube. Let me dump that in Facebook here. I think I can do this. And then I can put, what was the other link I just had up? Hang on a second. Oh, here it is. And I'll put this in here as well. So if you're listening on Facebook there, hopefully those two links show up. Okay. Okay. Let me just make sure I'm done with up here. That's okay. I don't want to look at that. Oh, we have some excessive rain graphics out. We are in the green, but you can see down further south is in the yellow, and that is for day 5. So let's see, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And then this is probably, I think they had one for Wednesday. Hold on here. I had this all set up, and now I'm messing up everything here. Yeah, here it is. Here we go. But all this is that we're still in the green. Okay? But you can see, here's a good one. This is valid for 12/8 to 12/9. So Monday into Tuesday, you see what do you all see what I see? We're in the green totally in Whatcom, but look at, you go south in the mountains and into southwest Washington, that's slight risk for excessive rainfall leading to flash flooding. Now, I know that's not maybe the biggest thing, but it gives us an indication of where they're thinking the biggest rain would be, okay? And then I think on day 5, yeah, let me see if I can get this one to pull up real quick. Hold on. Come on. Well, it doesn't want to expand. That should expand without any issue. There we go. And on day 5, which is Tuesday into Wednesday, you can see it's south. We're all in the green. So there we go. That's why I'm saying at this point, could that change? Yes. Could it push north? Yes. So we have to stay ready to go. Okay? Let me go to the comments, questions that are currently up, and then I'm going to deal with the ones that were on earlier. So I'm going to start in Facebook. Okay, raining and Deming. Okay, Jeremiah asks, will it be flooding like 21? As far as I can see, all metrics say no to that. Here. The Skagit did flood in 21, but it wasn't crazy bad, as they've seen some of horrible floods in the past. And I don't think there were a ton of rivers that flooded to the south. There were some. I do believe like the Snohomish and maybe the Tolt or Skykomish, Snoqualmie. I'm not sure which ones, but they did flood, but not like the Nooksack did. And then the Fraser and all that. Okay, Brenda says, hi, glad to have you. Thanks for the stars. Appreciate that. She said she drove and there was some pooling of water on Ferndale by Slater, or from Ferndale Road from Slater today. Okay. And Mike says links work. Okay, so that's all. Let me go to all the way back on the YouTube comments here, if I can. Again, like, subscribe, and watch. The more you watch, the better. Mickey Blue Eye says, really curious what the snow levels and expected temps are. Yes, the big flood was a trifecta. Absolutely, it was. And I can pull up data on maybe our extra time tonight, which I'm already past the half hour. We can look at some old data from 21. And I can show you the difference. But I've saved graphics from that. I've got a whole folder of stuff from that storm. So, yeah. We can even look... Oh, I was going to look at the snow levels. Hold on a second. Oh, and I had this up. Hang on. Bear with me. Minimum snow level. Okay, the minimum snow level on day 4. Let's see, I want that one. This is valid on Monday to Tuesday. Okay, this is the minimum. Is hovering right around the ski area. But you go south, and it starts, look at this, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, 59, 6,200, 6,100, okay? And then let's take a look at, Oh, is that day 4? Let's look at day 5, which is, I believe, Tuesday into Wednesday, 4 afternoon to afternoon, 4 to 4 in the afternoon, Tuesday afternoon to Wednesday afternoon. We got 4,500, 6,000 down here. Look at this, 5,600, 5,300, 4,800. To me, this isn't going to be the warmest one we've ever had, for sure. But see how close this is hovering to the ski area and just above it. That's what I'm saying. I mean, this is going to be a potential epic snow dump, or just missing the ski area. That's what it feels like. And again, it could be even to 5,000 because this is the minimum forecast. I don't know what the maximum. Well, I guess the minimum is the most important one probably. So it's just, and we already talked about that. So okay, let me continue on here. Appreciate the encouragement. Thank you so much to everybody here. I really, really appreciate. But yes, we also need subscribers too and watch hours. Please just let this thing run. Let these videos run. We need more watch hours. I need like 3,000 total. And I'm at 250 or something like that. So the more you watch and the more people we have watching, appreciate it. Okay, Mark, let's see. Did he have a couple questions? Okay, I'll get to his in just a second. Anthony was jumped on here. I think he did a live over at Puget Sound Stormwatch. And again, if you want, listen, I'm going to be honest with you here. And I'm going to bring up a picture. You can look at a cupcake here for a moment. Hopefully you can see my cupcake. And I'll talk about that in a second. So you aren't just looking at that other boring map. But let me just say this. There's a bunch of good local weather Facebook, YouTube pages ongoing, even on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. So I if you go to watch theirs, great. We are predominant Whatcom County. I mean, obviously we're talking bigger tonight. And we will look at bigger stuff when we come in. You know, if the Tolt River floods bad, or the Snoqualmie, or, you know, we have stuff to look at, we'll look at it. But there are some good other people out there doing this that know what they're talking about, and I trust them. And so we share each other's stuff, although I probably don't share as much as others share my stuff. I just don't have a lot of time, to be honest. And I have other people helping me on this page as well. So, but all that to say is, there are others. So Washington Weather Chasers, Benjamin is a great resource. Pacific Northwest Weather Watch, Michael, great resource. Puget Sound Stormwatch, Anthony. Western Washington, I'm probably going to mess these up, Matthew Fab. Whidbey Island Weather, Jonathan Pulley. And I'm sorry, I'm going to leave people out. Ryan V across the border is running the BC, the mainland and something BC page. I'm sorry, I can't remember them all. Ingalls Weathers across the border, although he does stuff in Washington, Mark Ingalls. These are all people I recommend. I know I'm missing. There's another. Come on, Randy, think of it. There's North Bend Weather. There's Olympic, somewhere out in the peninsula. Sorry, I'm forgetting names. Anyway, so, and I encourage you, if you're in some of those areas, follow those people. And I bet I missed a couple, and I'm sorry about that. Okay, I'm glad to have some of the new people here tonight. I think I've talked about the Nooksack River. Mark asked, will there be Fraser River outflow? As of now, I'm not seeing any indication of any major Fraser River outflow at this point, and that kind of not what I'm thinking about much either, but we're looking at that won't be the case when we go into this more potential flood event, especially to our south. So, okay, somebody's talking about Ladysmith and up there across the border. Greg says he hopes the track stays south. I agree. Okay, we did that. The link of the rivers. Oh, now that's up twice. Okay. Yeah. Okay, love that picture. So, and I'm going to go to the comments in just a moment from the original post that Jennifer put up earlier. This is a way to remember the difference between a flood watch and a flood warning. A flood watch is not currently happening. In other words, flooding's not currently happening. Excuse me. A flood watch is currently happening, but the flooding for the flood watch isn't. It doesn't even start till Sunday, the flood watch. We aren't even in Sunday. But they put it up to give us time to think about what we would do if it did flood in any of the rivers that we are near. But this just means ingredients potentially are ready to be there. Do we have rain coming? Yes. Do we have a lot of it coming? Yes. Is it going to hit some in the mountains? Yes. You know, all those things. And what are the snow levels? We have, those are each of these ingredients in a cupcake. This is the warning, means cupcake is ready to eat. That is a bad analogy for flooding is happening or imminent. So that's the difference between a watch and a warning. Honestly, I believe it was BC or the Canadians, just the Canadian Weather and Environment Canada. Somebody, they just changed this to more of a color structure instead of this kind of thing. And it's probably what we need to do here in the U.S. or just, make that the way. And I'd have to pull that up. Let's see, ECC colored structure. I think it was them. That one maybe. Is this it right here? Hold on, right here. Did you see the new Environment and Climate Change Canada? And I'm thinking this is what it is. And I know that's maybe not clear. But why isn't it coming up? But you got yellow, orange, and red. Okay, come on, graphic, load. I don't know why that's not loading very well, but that's what they've gone to, and it's maybe something we should go to. Anyway, another thing for another night, but we're stuck with cupcakes or tacos. You could have a taco, a finished taco, and your tomatoes and lettuce and cheese and meat over here. So that would be that same idea. Okay, I'm going to go over, and while you continue to look at cupcakes, oh wow, I got lots of things going on here. Just shouldn't look at my phone when I do these lives because I get all the texts and messages of people, all my family and friends. Okay, let me look at earlier tonight. Thank you for joining me again. Really appreciate it. I'm not sure we'll have another live tomorrow night, but potentially Sunday sometime, probably Sunday night. And I'll give a final forecast before I leave, if I can remember this. Okay, I think this is the thing that Jennifer said. Okay, so if you've asked a question on this earlier post that Jennifer put up, I'm going to try to answer it. Roger says, get out while you can, save yourself and your nice things. At this point, be prepared. And I think that's one of the questions somebody asked. How do you prepare? What do you do? Well, if you've been through a flood before, now if you haven't, that's going to be, you might want to talk to somebody who has if you're near the river or a creek. But, you follow the page. If we start seeing forecast gauges, if we start seeing more rain than what we saw forecast, if we see the snow levels higher, if we see the gauges start going up high, then you need to have a plan. Okay, where's my important papers? Those kinds of things. What do I do if the water were to come? Where can I get sandbags? I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I don't even really, at this point, think so, but that's how you have to think in these situations. Have a way to get out. That was a problem in the 21 flood. People are going to say, well, some people are going to say, we've heard it's going to be as bad as 21. Others are going to say, Randy said, nope, it's not going to be that bad, so I'm not going to prepare. That's partially correct, but that's not totally correct. So you're prepared, but there's no reason to be crazy, like, oh, panic. Not yet at this point. Maybe there's panic later, but we hope not. We've been through enough, and I hate flooding. Okay? I don't really like this. I'd rather have a huge blizzard and snowstorm. And even though that makes life horrible for a lot of people, flooding is way worse, generally speaking. So, and windstorms can actually be worse than or not as bad, as flooding, although they can be bad. But, snow impacts our travel, and yes, there's accidents, and yes, there's, crazy stuff, power goes out. But when it's flooding, as we saw in 21, but I'm not seeing that at this point, okay? Again, please let me remind you, if you're near streams, there's smaller rivers, there's there's been broken dikes and levees and stuff like that. The Timon Road and across the north side of, the south side of the river in Everson. That was crazy on that Monday night when I went there. So, and all that water coming down. Again, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, that amount, but just remember that. Laura says she doesn't remember seeing a flood watch for such an extended period of time. I think the reason that they have it, and I would attend, a 5-day flood watch is a considerably long one. I think it's because it's for the whole area, and They're basically just covering their whole every base for every river in that area. Instead of putting a flood watch in certain sections, they just put a whole big one on, and then they just put it from basically where it could potentially start to having rivers going up into where kind of the ending time would be. That's kind of, and we've got so many different rivers in that watch that there's so many different time periods where they could potentially have issues. So I think that's why they did it. Sky Terry says the leadership of the West Coast General Aviation Response Plan's watching out, and they are prepared. And he has a video link which talks about what they're prepared. And I think some of this came out of the 21 flood to help by flying in supplies if needed. And some of the BC people remember, they basically got cut off. Highway 1, I mean, it was everything was just like cut off into Vancouver. So Sea to Sky was, I believe, shut down, and Highway 1, and I don't know all your numbers and on all those, but it was just like a mess. And there was the big mudslide. I believe that's where they had several fatalities. So in 21. Okay, Leah, lots of feelings coming to the surface. Yes, and I just saying that I'm trying to alleviate some of that, but at the same time being on guard. Okay. Dustin says, can we just bypass the floods? Absolutely, for blizzard warning. Absolutely. Count me in. Praying the Nooksack behaves. Okay. Okay, maybe that wasn't the post. Hold on. Did I miss a post here, Jennifer? Okay. Here it is. I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong post. Well, I answered a couple questions. I already answered how will it compare to the 21 flood, but we don't know the final answer to that. But I don't foresee a major flood like that one. And that was nuts. With all that water from Everson going to Sumas on in during COVID, by the way, and no problem getting across the border there. Nothing was going to stop that water, and on into the Sumas prairies it went, or Sumas flats, or whatever they call that. So Anthony asked about the Sumas area. Right now, I'm not concerned at this point about an issue in the Sumas area, but we have to watch it. Okay. The wind is picking up a BLI. We talked a little bit about that. Jennifer asked, what would be the best way to prepare? And I think having your important papers ready, having a way to get out, having, if things start to go a little bit sideways, where would I park my vehicles so that they don't get flooded out? Last time in 21, we had a lot of vehicles lost because they didn't get moved to higher ground. Where would I take my vehicles if I needed to? Where would I go? Do I have, my stuff up off the floor that's important to me? Those kind of things, and of course we had people that did that. They put stuff on their beds and then left, and it still got it. But, can we put it up in a second story? Do I have a friend I can go to? Those kind of things, just thinking it through your mind. Okay. And again, power outages. I don't think power outages, that could be a problem, but I don't think that's going to be a big issue. There is some maybe wind coming with this one of the atmospheric rivers. I forget which one, the Tuesday one, but, and we'll keep track of that, but I don't know that power outages are going to be an issue. Not lightning, I don't think really. It's going to be more, water and, especially to our south. Yes, I would say at this point, I would call for minor flooding in the usual areas. Streets, lowland spots. Yes. Creeks, potentially. If yours floods in a minor event and you know about it, that's kind of what we're talking about. Having said that, we're keeping an eye on this. We're not trying to sensationalize this either. Are you tired of my cupcake picture? I need to find another picture for you to look at, so you can look at this gentleman, or gentle lady, whatever this is. Have a look at my snow goat. We're trying not to sensationalize. I ride a fine line here, okay? I ride a fine line of what do I see, what do I need to get a message out, and how do I say it without scaring the community? And so, do I say a horrible thing's going to happen when I really don't think so? Well, that would be bad of me. But if, on the other hand, I say I don't think anything's going to happen, but yet, there's the possibility, but I never really say it that way, that's not good. So I have to ride this fine line, so to speak, of, and hopefully you can see my goat, by the way. Can everybody see the snow goat? I ride that fine line of Okay, what am I seeing? So I'm just showing you the data. I don't have much else. I mean, I could dig up some more. We can read the forecast discussion, but I don't have a whole lot else. I mean, I can show you link after link, but it's all going to basically say the same thing. I'm looking at snow levels. I'm looking at how much snow we have. I'm looking at how much rain for our area. Is it aimed to the south? Is it aimed to us? Is it aimed to the north? All those things. And I've showed you every graphic that I can think of tonight that would make sense. And so I'm saying I don't see anything that says major flood. I see the Ferndale gauge is forecasted to go to whatever stage at minor. Was it minor or action? Now tomorrow that could change. We might see some other stuff, and then we'll update. But that's how it works in forecasting. We update. So, okay, if you're tired of my goat, I'm going to show you my next friend. And don't worry about the writing on it, but this is my Scottish Highland friend. He was actually sticking out his tongue snowflakes a few years ago. So have a look at my friend, the Scottish Highland in the snow. There you go. Okay. And I'm not, honestly, I don't see anything catastrophic here at this point. Please follow the page. That's all I will say. We'll keep updating it as best we can. And then if we have to start going live, we'll out in the field, we'll go live if that kind of thing. Stuart asks, with all the variables involved in forecasting in the AR, do you have any sense of possible rain shadow? We're putting up a bunch of Christmas lights over the next 4 to 5 days and figure we'll be dodging rain. Stuart, I would go with Saturday afternoon into the early evening if you can pull off that time. That seems to be a somewhat time. In fact, hopefully you can still see this. I'm going to go over to the HRRR, and I am going to pull up and I'll zoom in on the Seattle map here. Hang on, which is going to include us. Hold on. I'm going to show you this, and I don't know if you're still following Stuart here, but appreciate he is in, I believe, Sudden Valley. But this is the reflectivity forecast for the HRRR. It's a high-res model. This is 2 minus 8, 6 o'clock tonight. So it was run a few hours ago. And you can see the showers and up into the foothills right about now. We were talking the rain that's happening now. And I'm curious about the radar now. Yeah, look at that. It's picking that up on the radar. Look at that. Haha. Okay, enough of that. And then it clears. Okay, this is 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. Let's just see. Still some shower activity as we go in. Oh, that's not the run I wanted. I hit the wrong run. 28 o'clock minus 8 hours. Is that noon? Here's noon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You see? Dry. If I pick up the NAM here, let's do that. Let me zoom in on. That's why I said the parade might get a slot. Doesn't mean it, I still say chance of showers. I have to cover myself because they're still hanging around. But it seems like might be not a bad night. Okay, let's do this. Here's tonight's going right now. It's picking that up pretty good. And then 4 in the morning, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Still showers hanging around. 10, 11, 12. I might be off an hour. That's 12. 1. Okay, so 1 o'clock starting to show some rain on this one. Not for much. 3. That's 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. If I were doing it, I'd be doing it mid-after, whenever it stops raining tomorrow. Now, Sunday, you might be asking about Sunday. Sunday's going to get wetter. That's early, 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. There might be a break Sunday afternoon as well. Maybe. Yeah, and that's, now we're getting into the nighttime, overnight hours. And then here comes Monday. I would say, I hope that answers your question. Tomorrow afternoon, if you can do it in the dark and put up lights, and but Saturday afternoon and maybe Sunday afternoon. Okay, what's up with the wind? Okay, Kimber asked, we mentioned that yesterday. So, yeah. Jamie says, read a weather report that claimed 4 to 6 inches in the lowlands in relation to the Seattle vicinity. Yes, I'm seeing that as a potential 4 inches in the Seattle vicinity. Yes, I saw the one that said Godzilla-sized atmospheric river. I hope I've answered your question about the Saturday, the rest of the week rainfall. It's going to be 2 or 3 inches in the lowlands at least. I mean, let me just pick up something else. Hang on. Let me pull up one other map. I don't have high res that goes out that far except the UW. So let me pull that up. By the way, we're going to have a brand new website for Whatcom County Weather coming soon. So it's going to be exciting. We're going to have some cool stuff on there. Just letting you know. But don't tell all your friends about that yet. Hopefully you can see that, and I haven't lost everybody, and they've all fallen asleep. But I'm going to pull up a forecast map here from the UW, and it should be, it's not quite out it's not, well, it should have been out all the way here. It's getting late. I'm over an hour. You guys are going to start turning me off left and right. Okay. Come on, Randy. Accumulated precipitation. Loop. Hang on, let me take a look at this. See what tonight's run has for accumulated precipitation. Okay. That's Monday at 4. Tuesday 4 a.m. 4 p.m. Wednesday. Okay, so that's as far as it goes. 120 hours. So they're pulling the UW. See, I think the UW is probably underdoing some of this. You can see the rain shadow down here too. It is rain shadowing, I suppose you could say, some of us, and I have seen that. It's basically saying an inch in the lowlands, and then the foothills, 1.5 inches, and then it gets, as you go higher. And I'm going to guess it's going to be more like in the 1.5 inches and then 3 inch. And then up here is, 10 inches. And then at the summit, now, a lot of that's going to be snow because the snow levels will be in that 4,500 or maybe 5,000 at the most is kind of what I'm seeing. But some of these numbers down here, the Seattle area is in the, 1.5 inches to 2 inches. And this ends at Wednesday. I can't see past that. So yeah, maybe the GFS, this is off the GFS, the American model, it's less than the Euro. But there is a very good possibility we see a couple inches in the lowlands, maybe even more by us. Again, it's our, that's kind of my guess. And then more down to our south. Okay, I think that's all those. I think, put everybody to sleep. So I think I'm going to call it for the night. Thank you so much for joining tonight. I'll check Facebook one more time here. Yep, they see my goat. Okay. So if you're near the rivers down to the south, especially some of the ones I mentioned earlier, let me review that. Let me do the final forecast as we look at the river gauge map tonight. Not much for Nooksack. That's good. Other than orange stage, possibly, for Nooksack at Ferndale. I think that's orange. Again, these colors, yeah, and red. Orange is put you in the minor stage. That can change, but that's kind of toward the end of next week. We've got some reds. Skagit and Mount Vernon is in the potential red. At Concrete, potential red. That's red. Is that moderate? Yes, moderate. We've got the Snohomish at Snohomish in the red. We've got Skycomish in Gold Bar. We've got Tolt in Carnation. Snoqualmie River at Snoqualmie Falls. That's going to be racing river falls. The Skokomish, where you just put 1 drop of water and it floods. And you got some oranges, which is more the moderate, the minor stage. You got a few, Puyallup River, and we've got the Ording one, and then we got more reds, Chehalis, Grand Mound, Skookumchuck, so Nisqually, Cowlitz at Packwood. So those are kind of the ones I'm seeing on this map that are in the red, and some we got some purples. Excuse me, I missed the purples. Hold on, that's the major stage. We got Snohomish near Monroe. We've got Snoqualmie near Carnation. These are well known to be flooding issues, and the Cowlitz at Randall are already up there as forecasted, for the potential of a major flood. And so if you live in those areas, you just got to be prepared. Again, could we be overdoing this? Yes. I'm trying not to over-sensationalize this. Yes, maybe we're missing this. But to me, it feels more to the south. Skagit south. County south. But stay tuned, okay? Leslie says, just got on here wondering about past travel on Tuesday for a trip to Leavenworth. Okay, I'm thinking you're talking about Stevens. Honestly, I don't have a whole lot of time. I got to call it a night. I have a big day tomorrow because I have a sale. If you want to come by Vandergeesen and meet me, 10 to 1 tomorrow, Vandergeesen Nursery, they're on Grover Street. We're going to have lots of stuff for sale, and they're having an open house and stuff on sale, Christmas trees, or I don't know if the Christmas trees are on sale, but they're going to have some free stuff and Oli Bolin and other things, 20% off certain stuff. and he's got wreaths and Christmas trees and poinsettias and everything. So, and I've got puzzles and calendars and coasters and all that. And we'll be doing that 2 more times the next 2 Saturdays after, so the 13th and the 20th. So that's a shameless plug for the work that I'm doing. We have a flood watch. So Tuesday is calling for rain and snow between 10 and rain and snow after 1. High of 35. It's going to be, honestly, Leslie, it's going to be close on Tuesday. Okay, although I'm guessing, well, it's hard for me to say. It's so on the edge here. Rain and snow before 10 a.m., then snow between 10 and 1 is kind of what they're calling for. So I'd have to look more into that. Okay. George says, thanks for doing the updates. Yes. Brenda says, thank you. Yes. Appreciate that. So hopefully, if my best guess is you're going to be probably okay on Tuesday going over that pass, but you're going to have to keep checking back on that. I'm sorry. I don't have a very definitive answer because I don't have all that stuff that I'd like to look at up. So, okay, again, subscribe to the channel. We've gained a whole bunch of subscribers in the last couple of days or so. Appreciate that. Like that, and the more you watch, the better it is. Okay. Final forecast. Let's go with the final forecast at Mount Baker that I was going to show you. Final forecast is going to be something like this. Chance of rain or rain overnight. That's what we're seeing already on radar. We got rain overnight into tomorrow morning, then turning to a chance of showers, maybe somewhat decent later in the afternoon where it's not going to be crazy wet for the parade, especially the Lighted Christmas Parade in Linden, which we will be in. So if you're there, please say hi. We'll be waving from our truck. And then Sunday is going to have more rain, although there might be a brief breaks in there, so it may not be 100% washout. Sunday night's going to have rain, Monday's going to have rain, into Tuesday's going to have rain, and Wednesday's probably going to have rain. Temperature is going to be a little bit on the higher side. Lows in the 40s and highs maybe close to 50, kind of say Bellingham and Linden, Ferndale, that kind of area. Foothills probably somewhat, I don't know, maybe they could be a little bit similar temps. After that, I'm not sure what's coming beyond Wednesday and Thursday. Probably more rain. But eventually we'll dry out. But it's some of this flooding to our south is probably going to be determined how much rain, of course, but also how long it lasts. So, okay, everyone, I'm done for this night. Thank you again for joining. All of you, really, really, really appreciate it. And looks like Benjamin just joined us. So, but really appreciate all that the community is here, and grateful for you guys. And I already told Ben. I already told my wife that you make sure you get to Snoqualmie Falls, right? But Ben is in the middle of all of those potential river flooding areas, so he's going to probably have a ton of coverage next week on that. So down at Washington Weather Chasers, I am not going to be able to drive down there, but we'll keep a watch, and we'll do some lives as well, and we'll but if you want to see some of that flooding, or you live down there, if there is flooding, and we're not wanting flooding, none of us want flooding. I don't know anybody that wants flooding, but we're covering it. We're trying to forecast it. We're trying to help out. We're helping out the community, but Benjamin will be in the middle if there is any, no doubt about it. So, okay, great. That was a lot of fun. We'll either see you tomorrow night or Sunday night next. Have a great night.